It was the Venerable Bede who first conceptualised the idea of the English in his great work, The History of the English Church and People, in which he recounted a tale from the 590s. Legend has it that the then Pope, Gregory the Great, saw some particularly fine-looking slaves at a market in Rome. When he asked where they were from, he was told the slaves were Angles. In a famous quip, he replied, "Not Angles, but angels." It was he who then sent St. Augustine to convert England, since when we have been a Christian country. Yet a new poll of the Church of England for the Times suggests that the clergy themselves no longer believe that we are a Christian country. The poll, which surveyed 1,200 clergymen, the first conducted in nearly a decade, revealed that under a quarter of the pool believed Britain can be described accurately as a Christian country. It also shone a light on some of the defeatists' approach of these clerics to the dogmas of Christianity. But even if numbers going to church is in decline, if Christianity is not as strong as it once was, that does not stop our nation from being a Christian country. Let's look at the history. St. Augustine converted Athelbert of Kent, and Athelbert then issued laws in around 602 AD. Ine of Wessex did the same in around 694, and these Christian documents were codified and expanded by Alfred the Great in the Doom Book of 893. Now, why am I talking of the Dark Ages into the Anglo-Saxon period? Well, because the Doom Book, which has the Ten Commandments prefixed to it and incorporates the ethical rules both of Moses and of Christ, is the foundational document of the common law which still rules us today. And this is really interesting and exciting because if you look at part of the reason behind Brexit, it was because of the clash between the common law and the civil code. Now, the common law from Alfred is based on a Christian understanding of law and of human nature. The civil code, tied up with the French Revolution and Napoleon, is based on the God of reason. And the European Union is essentially an atheistic state, whereas the United Kingdom is a Christian state and continues to be so regardless of what these clerics have to say, based on our law and our constitution. And we see this if we look at policies that have been implemented in this country. Look at the influence of Christianity in some of our great campaigners in the 19th century. Wilberforce on slavery. What was his motivating force? He was an evangelical Christian, as was Shaftesbury, a Tory, pushing for factory acts. Read, if you haven't already, Tom Holland's brilliant work called Dominion, which explains how the welfare state comes out of a Christian understanding, why we value the life and appreciate that every soul has value, from my point of view, from the moment of conception through to the point of natural death. This is the underpinning of our whole society that is based on the Gospels. And we see it not just in our laws, but in the symbols of society. Just look at the coronation. The coronation is a ceremony that St. Dunstan would have been familiar with. Look at the symbols of secular authority. You would have seen in the news the royal coat of arms outside the Royal Courts of Justice. What is in the centre? A crown with a cross on it. The cross is throughout our public life. We have bishops in the House of Lords, and they are there representing our history and our Christian nature. So, we may not be St. Augustine's, this is the other St. Augustine of Hippo, not of Canterbury. We may not be his city of God. We may not be perfect, but we are a Christian nation. And what is so tragic is the defeatism of the Church of England. And unlike Nigel Farage, I actually have great sympathy for the Archbishop of Canterbury. I think he has such a difficult job, which it's clear today is harder because his own clerics don't have the positive outlook of proselytization that Christianity has always had. Fortunately, this is not the view of other Christians, certainly not the view of the Catholic Church, which is still very positive, but also non-Catholics, non-Catholic Christians who continue to preach the faith. I bumped into a gentleman I see quite often outside the House of Parliament who regularly preaches the gospel. When I saw him yesterday, he told me I mustn't promote the Catholic Church on GB News. They phrased it more politely than that. But I must talk about Jesus and the Gospels. There are still many confident Christians like him. And the Anglican Church could do with a transfusion of them.